Okay, welcome back to solving equations. Let's look at equations with mixed numbers in them. And I'd like to remind you that all your rules in maths still apply, whatever you do, even if it's an equation. So with mixed numbers, it's still the mixed number rules when you're working with them. And obviously combined with the new rules you've learned with equations, where we isolate our variables and we also do to one side what we do to the other side. And obviously the inverse is what we do to get rid of it standing next to the variable. Let's look at this first one. We have b plus 5 3/8 equals 12.5. So the first thing we need to do is to isolate b by removing this. And we're going to remove this by minusing it on this side and then again on the other side. Okay, so let's rewrite everything as it is and then remove 5 3/8 by minusing it on the left and then again on the other side of the equal side on the right. Now we can see 5 3/8 cancels 5 3/8 out, and we're simply going to solve this. But in order to solve this side, remember we have a minus sign, so it makes life a bit more complicated. We need the same denominators. We're going to have to times 2 by 4 to get it to 8 and then do the same to the top. So our new line will look like that. 2, for the half of 12.5 has to be times by 4 at the bottom to become an 8 because we've got a minus sign here. And what we do to the bottom or to the denominator, we're going to do to the numerator. So that's going to be 12 4/8 minus 5 3/8. So let's see how it looks. It'll look like this then. That became that. We didn't change the value. We simply stuck to our mixed number rules, which we've learned in the fraction sections of my lectures. Now we have the same denominators. These whole numbers can minus and the fractions can minus. We can simplify that quite easily now. So b becomes 7 1/8 because 12 minus 5 is 7. 4/8 minus 3/8 is 1/8. Quite easy, stick to it one step at a time. Always use your rules in maths. Okay, so here we have, remember this little thing is a times. So we're going to first simplify this side before we isolate our variable on that side. Now let's look at how this side is going to look. The right will look like that now. 21 over 1. You can put it over 1 because you've got a times by fraction now. We've learned that in our fraction rules. 21 over 1 times 3 over 7, and we can cancel out immediately. 7 can go into itself once here and into 21 3 times there. So we're actually left with 3 times 3, which is 9 over 1. So we can write it as a whole number as 9. So let's do that on the next line. So all of this has been simplified beautifully into 9, sticking to all the rules you've learnt. Now we can see this side is completely simplified. We are now able to isolate our variable. And we're going to do that by by plussing a 1 1/4 instead of a minus a 1 1/4 because we want to get it back to 0. So there we go. We do the inverse. Minus 1 1/4 plus 1 1/4. And because we did it to this left side, we have to do it to the right side as well. So now we know those two cancel out. These two here, they cancel out. They leave us with x on its own here. And these two can be simplified into 10 1/4, and that's your answer. Okay, next line. Right, we're already in a simplified state on that side, so all we have to do is isolate our variable on this side. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do the inverse. So that's how it looked originally. Now we're going to do the inverse. Instead of minusing 1 1/2, we're plussing 1 1/2. And because we did it on the left, we have to also do it on the right. Now we're simply just going to simplify that and we'll have the answer to our variable. M is equal to 6 1/2. 5 plus 1 is 6, and then your half. Okay, see how easy that is. You just stick to your rules that you've learned with your fractions and all your math up until this point. If you are rusty on rules, I will encourage you to press subscribe to my channel. I have covered all the rules in maths from grade 1 up to senior school. And you can go find them in playlists. If you're rusty on fractions, go look at your fraction playlist. Mixed numbers are in there, and everything to do with fractions are in there. If you're rusty on negative numbers, go look at the negative number playlist. Press subscribe and join me on this journey. See you in the next lecture.